Welcome to the 7th episode of Faith and Freedom, the Presidents Who Built America. This year, 2026, marks the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, a moment to reflect on the leaders who not only secured our liberty, but also worked to preserve it and strengthen it during times of economic trial and political division. In this weekly series, we celebrate the positive accomplishments of each president, viewing their leadership through the light of biblical truth and the founding ideals of fiscal responsibility, states' rights, and the peaceful transfer of power. Last week, we examined Andrew Jackson, the populist champion who expanded democracy and confronted threats to the Union with unwavering resolve. And today, we turn to his chosen successor, Martin Van Buren, the skilled political leader known as the Little Magician, who established America's independent treasury system, navigated the severe panic of 1837, kept the nation out of war, and maintained the delicate balance of the Union during one of its most turbulent economic periods. So if you're interested, if you're curious, stick around and let's dive in. Martin Van Buren was born in 1782 in Kinderhook, New York, to Dutch immigrant parents who ran a tavern. He grew up speaking Dutch at home and was raised in the Dutch Reformed Church, a faith tradition that emphasized personal piety, moral discipline, and the sovereignty of God. Like the biblical Nehemiah, who was the cupbearer to the Persian king and who rebuilt Jerusalem's wall with wisdom and prayer amid opposition, young Van Buren displayed early political talent while working in his father's tavern, where he listened to local leaders debate the issues of the day. Young Van Buren left school at age 14, and he apprenticed as a lawyer, and he rose quickly, becoming a key political figure in New York politics. Van Buren often reflected on the role of Providence in his political life. In his 1837 inaugural address, he stated this: "I enter on the discharge of my official duties with a deep sense of high responsibilities, relying on the aid of that almighty power which has heretofore protected and preserved our beloved country." This humble acknowledgement of divine guidance would shape his approach to the presidency. Van Buren's pre-presidential career showcased his mastery of coalition building. As a senator, governor of New York, secretary of state under Jackson, and vice president, he helped create the modern Democratic Party and was instrumental in Jackson's victories. He viewed politics as a means to serve the common good, writing in a private letter this: "The happiness of the people is the end of government." This echoed biblical principles in Proverbs 29, where it says, "When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan." So now let us examine Martin Van Buren's 4 principal accomplishments during his presidency from 1837 to 1841, each one aimed at protecting the Republic during economic crisis and maintaining its foundational principles. So number 1, Van Buren established the Independent Treasury system in 1840, creating a network of government vaults to hold federal funds separate from private banks. This reform was a direct response to the Panic of 1837, which had devastated the economy when state banks began to collapse. Van Buren believed that the federal government should not be entangled with private financial institutions, stating in his message to Congress this: "The separation of the money of the government from banking institutions is indispensable to the safety of the public funds." This system embodied the founding ideal of limited government and fiscal independence, drawing from biblical warnings against placing trust on unstable human systems, as it says in Psalms 146. "Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man, in whom there is no salvation." Because Van Buren implemented this safeguard, the nation gained a more stable foundation for managing public money, a principle that influenced later banking reforms. Number 2, Van Buren successfully kept the United States out of war with Britain and Canada during the Aroostook Border War in 1838 and 1839, where tensions over the Maine and New Brunswick boundary nearly escalated into conflict. But Van Buren pursued diplomacy and compromise. He wrote to Congress this: "It is our duty to maintain the rights of the United States with firmness and to seek a peaceful solution." His restraint reflecting the founding ideal of avoiding unnecessary foreign entanglements and the biblical call for peacemaking, where it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." Because Van Buren chose negotiation over escalation, the nation avoided a costly war and preserved resources for domestic recovery. Number 3, Van Buren continued the westward expansion. He believed it was necessary for frontier security and state sovereignty, but he also expressed moral reservation and private correspondence in regard to impacts among the native tribes. His administration worked to enforce treaties while seeking to reduce violence. Van Buren framed such difficult decisions as part of providential order, noting in an 1838 message, "The hand of a wise and beneficent providence has been conspicuously extended to us." This reflected the founding tension between expansion and justice, drawing from biblical calls for fairness in dealings with others, as it says in Leviticus 19, "When a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall love him as yourself." Number 4, Van Buren maintained the peaceful transfer of power in 1840 despite losing re-election to William Henry Harrison. He left office gracefully, setting an example of democratic maturity. In his farewell address, he expressed gratitude to the divine favor, saying this: "I leave the service of my country with a deep sense of obligations I owe to a kind providence for the many blessings he has conferred upon me." This orderly transition reinforced the founding ideal of a government of laws, not of men, and helped stabilize the young republic during economic hardship. Van Buren's presidency was not without formidable challenges, most notably the Panic of 1837, which brought widespread unemployment, bank failures, and great suffering across the land. Yet he refused to expand federal power or create a new national bank, believing such actions would violate constitutional limits and harm the long-term health of the republic. Through these dark days, Van Buren drew strength from his Reformed faith. In one of his messages to Congress during the crisis, he openly declared his reliance upon the mercy of the goodness of that being who has so signally blessed our country. His wife Hannah, who passed away before his presidency, had been a source of spiritual support, and Van Buren carried her memory as a reminder of moral duty. So how do Martin Van Buren's accomplishments impact us today in 2026? Because he created the Independent Treasury, we inherited a system that separates government funds from private banking, providing greater stability during economic crisis. Because he avoided the war through diplomacy, we benefit from a tradition of measured foreign policy that prioritizes peace and negotiation. Because he upheld constitutional limits during hardship, our federal government remains restrained, protecting individual and state liberties. And because he ensured a peaceful transfer of power, we continue to enjoy a stable democratic transition that is the envy of the world. Van Buren's life reminds us that true leadership requires wisdom, restraint, and trust in divine providence, even in the face of economic storms. As he stated to Congress in 1840, "The preservation of the Constitution is the highest duty of every citizen." I want to thank you so much for joining me as we continue through the American presidential history. Next week, we'll examine William Henry Harrison. If you enjoy this series, if this series encourages you to reflect on our godly heritage, please subscribe, hit that bell, and share this with others. Together, let us celebrate the faith and freedom that built this great nation. God bless you. God bless the United States. I wish you all a very great week. Bye for now.